Hello everyone, I am the King of Candles and welcome back to the Minecraft Book Club, the series where I play Minecraft while talking about books. Today we're going to be talking about George Orwell's 1984, specifically Chapter 9 in Part 2. And last episode we built this really cool iron golem farm, and you might be wondering, King of Candles, what do you need all this iron for? Well, today we're going to do a cool project that uses some of that iron. And I know you might also be wondering, like, oh, when are you going to finish this? I'll finish it eventually. Don't worry, okay? This is going to be a project that's going to take a while, just because the amount of materials I'm going to need is going to take a while to get. Right, I'm going to need a ton of bricks for the wall. And if you can't tell, there's not a lot of clay in the taiga. Especially for me, because I have no rivers around me. So all our clay has been coming from here, right? I think we have some glazed terracotta in the wagon with the enchanting table, sorry. But yeah, I simply don't have enough brick to make this building. And we're going to fix that in the next episode. But today, I want to clean something up that we've been using quite a bit. You see, this cave right here is where I keep my nether portal. And every now and then I get shot at. So that's not, that's not cool at all. And we can do a lot better than just having this in a cave, right? So my thinking was the one metal you can get in the nether is gold, right? All the piglins love gold. So I was thinking this could be a cool little gold mine almost. I think that would make a cool structure, and it would make sense to have our nether portal there because that's where they're getting all the gold. You know, just some slight world building, I guess, because if your town and your builds don't have a story, it's kind of hard to know what structure needs to do what. So that's why the gold mine is going to have the nether portal. It's because, that's where they're getting all the gold, is just from hell itself. So yeah, today we're going to clean this up a bit, add some cool little structures, and we're going to make a very nicely decorated area for our nether portal. Well, it wouldn't be a book club video unless it was raining, right? Anyways, so like always, I want to give a quick summary of the last chapter, which was, of course, Chapter 9 of Part 2 in 1984. But this was a very long chapter, so this might be a first, but it might be the case that most of this video is just summary of that chapter, because a lot of things happened and I don't really have that much to talk about. So last we left off, everyone was preparing for Hate Week, and this chapter, we're actually in Hate Week now. So in one of the ceremonies at the square, a big thing happens, which is that it's suddenly declared that they were never at war with Eurasia, and in fact they were at war with East Asia the whole time. So during the ceremony, the officials switch over to talking about the new enemy, and the guy giving the speech has to be like an expert at giving speeches, because he just flows through with this speech perfectly as if nothing unusual has happened. He just keeps talking, and he goes and blames the entire ordeal on Goldstein, and all the decorations are Goldstein's fault. And during all this commotion is when Winston is handed the briefcase as described by O'Brien. But because of the sudden change in the enemy of the state, the Ministry of Truth has to all of a sudden, get to work on changing all of the news and all of the writing that happened in the past 5 years. And in order to do this, they are all assigned essentially 18-hour days. So Winston basically lives at the ministry for quite a while just to do his government work. So I think like 3 days later, he finally goes back to Mr. Charrington's place, which is the antique shop guy, and he gets to sit down and actually open up the book. So Winston finally gets to open the book, and it's a thick black book that is labeled The Theory and Practice of Oligarchical Collectivism by Goldstein, which is the enemy of Big Brother. Now, I'm not sure if I want the portal to go over this way or this way. Perhaps we have the portal right here, and then we have a little cool area for gold over here. Yeah, I think right here is where I'm going to put the nether portal. And honestly, we can make this 3 wide. Whoa. And then we'll just have some stone behind here, like that. And it might be cool to have some, stalagmites here. Yeah, I think something like that for a nether portal is going to be pretty cool. Maybe we do something like that. Yeah, I'm liking that. So yeah, this is kind of where the book starts getting a little weird, because the rest of the chapter, except for small portions of it, are essentially just, Winston reading a textbook. So the rest of the 30 pages in the chapter are just straight dense political philosophy. So it's kind of rough to get through, but I'm gonna try my best to talk about it. The first thing that is kind of discussed is just some general, I guess, world lore. I don't know what else to call it. This pillar might be really annoying right in the middle. I don't think any mine does that. But yeah, we get some general lore of the world, which essentially boils down to there are only 3 countries in existence. But yeah, there is Oceania, which is just the United States, I guess. And then there is East Asia and Eurasia. And the book kind of clarifies that those do, in fact, mean the United States, Russia, and China. But all 3 of these countries are constantly at war with each other, and their borders constantly fluctuate. So there's a small border region between all of them. It's in Mongolia, the Pacific Islands, and then I think North Africa is also a big zone for war. And the wars are kind of just constant between all 3 of these countries. Sometimes they'll ally with each other, and then right as they're about to win, they'll turn on their ally and then start losing. And it's just constant war and fluctuation. Whoa, I forgot how crazy that shovel is. Although that shovel is about to break, so I need to be careful. We should be fine with this episode, but, I don't want to risk it too much. But yeah, after explaining the international situation with the 3 countries, it describes why this is all occurring. Why is there constant... Ooh, I don't want that, actually. But why is there constant war between all these countries? The reasoning for this is that the governments want productivity because it's good for their economies and stuff like that. However, by having good productivity, they actually make their own position weaker. And they being the, party elite, because when more things are produced, there's more to go around. So by limiting the amount of stuff that gets produced, they get poorer, but everyone else stays poorer and in their kind of social hierarchy and castes. So by going to war, they're able to produce stuff and sell it and, make themselves richer, while at the same time destroying everything that's produced so that the poor people stay poor. In addition to these constant wars, the wars that they do aren't very destructive. They don't go around and obliterate entire cities with their nukes and stuff, because they are capable of nuking things. But they quit doing this basically for the same reason we do it, mutual assured destruction, but in a different sense of the term. What they basically came to the conclusion of was that if you get nuked back, it's going to ruin your social hierarchy and you're going to lose all your own power over the population. So it was kind of just like an honor system thing, oh, let's not nuke each other so we can, stay in power. So it's this constant pseudo world conquest goal that will never happen because it's impossible, because everyone's evenly matched and no one's actually trying to kill each other. They're just trying to ruin the things they've produced so they get to keep all the wealth and no one else gets to keep any. I really don't like this corner and I don't know what to do with it. That's what the issue was. It was the half slab. That's much better. Yeah, I like that. So after he's read that portion of the book, Julia finally arrives at Mr. Charrington's place, and he decides that he's going to read the book to her, but as he reads, he realizes that she kind of just falls asleep. So he just continues on by himself reading. The book makes a interesting point about just the wealth of people, and it says that the rich are always going to be rich, right? But then they'll get overthrown by the middle class people. And the middle class people, half of them will actually join the upper class when they decide to overthrow them, and the other half just stays middle class. And then the poor people get screwed over in every revolution because everyone just wants to keep them poor because that's where they're the most useful. So my shovel's durability was running dangerously low. Would hate to lose this because it's very nice. So I switched to this efficiency 2 unbreaking 2 iron shovel that I have from the path making video. But right now I'm just replacing these walls with some dirt because I think that's gonna fix everything I hate about the corner right here. The book also mentions how a lot of revolutionary people were kind of just fighting against the idea of a hereditary government. And Goldstein writes that, this isn't really an issue for them because they're pleasing the revolutionary people because, well, there is no hereditary in the Big Brother government. But they don't have to worry about their bloodline surviving because the only thing that matters is the party and its ideology. But from a distance, this works pretty fine. I think I might want to expand that out one more. Yeah, I think that looks a little more symmetrical. Although, now we have the zombie pigman in here, or zombie piglin. They've changed it. Weak. So then, Winston again comes to the conclusion that the only ones that are really, truly alive are the proles. Of course, it's raining again. But anyway, the next morning, they hear the lady out in the yard singing once again, like she always does. And while this happens, the painting starts repeating things to Winston, and Winston's like, uh-oh, that thing has a microphone in it. And the house gets raided. The room gets raided, and everything goes bad for them. Julia and Winston are both arrested, like, immediately, and it's revealed that Mr. Charrington is actually a thought police, and he's been listening in on these two for a while. That's how the chapter ends, is with a Mr. Charrington, a bit younger than he normally looks, smiling as the two get arrested. But yeah, look at that. That's the exterior of our mine, at least for the most part. We're going to go in with some details here shortly. So I was planning on putting in a little opening here with a minecart that goes around in circles. But honestly, I feel like I just prefer having this like crevice opening, and I feel like the minecart would kind of ruin that. It would also look kind of stupid. So we probably will not be doing that. However, I think, this looks pretty barren as of right now. So I'm just going to go through here and add like a couple rock looking things. So now we're going to go into the analysis of the book. I think the first thing I thought about when reading this chapter is that, I don't know if you guys have heard the phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But to me, that's kind of what I get when reading about Goldstein, right? Because the government makes Goldstein out to be a sort of, a villain of the state. And in doing so, the government and the public both join hand in hand to essentially, demonize Goldstein and make him bad. So because the public is scared of Goldstein and the government hates Goldstein, they're able to find a common enemy in Goldstein and, be a little more secure than they probably otherwise should be. I've also seen these blocks of raw gold, which you get from just, 9 pieces of gold. But I figured I could have a good spot for them somewhere in the mine. Yeah, I think that adds to it. Oh, I also have these signs. Where are they? Wanted to see if they worked well there. They might. And I guess we can kind of texture the ground around here a bit. I haven't done that in any of the builds except the barn, so I'm pretty new to this. I don't really know what I'm doing. It's kind of just random. But I'm hoping, this adds a little bit to the area. There was a good quote in this chapter that I thought was pretty cool. A hierarchical society is only possible on the basis of poverty and ignorance. I just think that's a really cool line, because it is pretty true. Because if the people are rich, everyone's equal, and it doesn't work. And if everyone is smart, then they'll know that they're in poverty or not having the best life that they could, and they will rebel. So I just thought that was a cool quote. Alright, so while we've been doing all of that, our iron golem has of course been in the background pretty passively. So we should have quite a bit of iron in here. Yeah, look at that. Delicious. I think I just need, I don't know, we'll take like this much iron. We're just throwing it around like it's money. Or, that doesn't make sense. But we will need to use this in this build, because, it's a mine shaft. And what is a mine shaft without... is this the recipe? Yeah, oh, that makes 16. Okay. But I kind of want to make a little minecart ramp. But yeah, I know throughout the series for this book, I've been talking about the inner party privilege that a lot of these guys get for being, part of the inner party. And it's revealed here that it's not really that privileged because everything relies pretty heavily on the context of it, right? So although they might be really good for, the standards of the book, in comparison to what was the case in like the 1820s over there, these guys are living poor. Their privilege is getting to eat real food, and that's something that people in the 1920s got to do. So, it's not the greatest thing in the world. And no one realizes how rough their situation is, but no one also realizes how similar they all are, right? Because the citizens of Eurasia are not allowed to communicate with the citizens of Oceania or the citizens of East Asia. They're all pretty separate. And that's by intention. And that kind of just reminds me of, I don't know if you've heard the story of the Christmas truce in World War I, but essentially, during Christmas in World War I, everyone was out on the trenches. And since it was Christmas, right, nobody wanted to actually fight. So they played soccer out in the middle, and it kind of humanized everyone. And the generals did not like that because everyone was not ready to go back into the trenches to fight each other because they realized, well, shoot, we're all human. So by, limiting contact between all the people, they prevent that from happening in their own societies. The textbook also talks about a inconvenient amount of human death, which there's not much context to that. The government needs to kill off its civilians in order to maintain its, industrial thing, but also they're at war. So at what is the ideal amount of human loss? And that was something the textbook talked about. And out of a lot of things in this segment, I think that was probably the most dystopian of them all. And yeah, I mentioned earlier that I don't have too much to talk about this chapter just because, well, it was mostly just dense. So I think the last thing I want to say is that I thoroughly did not predict the thought police planting traps in the proles, because I thought Winston and Julia were pretty safe in that house, but clearly not because the thought police plant traps. So I think that's about all I have to talk about this segment. It was a lot of lore drops, so the summary was basically the big thing this chapter. So for next episode, we're going to continue with 1984, of course, and that is going to be chapter 1 and 2 out of part 3. So I've never built anything like this before, but this is supposed to be a little like crane or pulley. I've looked at some of these designs online, but we want to do that. Like that. You get to see all my hidden torches. Based on the point of view up here, you shouldn't be able to see any of the torches at all. That one you kind of can see. I like hiding my lighting just because, torches are kind of ugly. So if I can hide the torches but still make things look bright and enlightened, that'd be ideal. And I think right there is a good spot. It's kind of obvious where the light is coming from if you know, but it's fine. And yeah, I think that adds a lot of character to this area, right? It's a gold mine over there, and then we've also got the Nether portal. Oh, I do want lanterns, though, instead of torches. Yeah, I think lanterns are definitely the move here instead of torches. It's still just as bright in here. And I also changed this up a bit, so now it's a lot easier to see the gold. I had it covered in these spruce trap doors earlier, but I think this just looks better. But yeah, we've got a complete gold mine here. Looks pretty neat in my opinion. But of course, I'm going to look back at this in a couple years. Hopefully even just a couple months and cringe and be like, what was I thinking? But, it's cool. We got the barrel with the gold. We got the portal. And we got some pillars, right? Some support beams. This is a crane that's pulling in some raw gold, and then we got a minecart with a chest. So yeah, I consider this build finished and complete. However, this video has one last thing that we gotta do. And boy, oh boy, am I excited for this. I was thinking of taking this guy out, but, you know, I think it makes more sense to keep an adult here, or keep the kid here, which I know it's a little sus, but this kid's gonna be our new breeder, and we're gonna take an adult with us. So get in here, my friend. And we're eventually gonna have our library over here, I believe, so we're gonna just bring this guy over here so we don't have to move him as far later. I believe all we have to do here is get a mending villager. Whoa, oh, there it is. Oh, mending. No. This guy might lose his trade. I didn't think he would not accept the bookshelf trade. He's trading paper for emeralds. Still mending. Perfect. And just like that, my friends, we have our librarian to give us mending. Wonderful. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for watching. Remember, next episode we'll be reading chapters 1 and 2 from part 3 of 1984 by George Orwell. So if you're joining us, feel free to read that. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great day.